life after death. Somebody asked me my thoughts because as I go through the interpretation, the template doesn't tell you that that Jesus is coming back or that there's any afterlife or things like that. There's something different going on. It does tell us that we emerge from someplace and we're returning to there, and I haven't quite got that figured out. But I wanted to address a question somebody asked me, and I can't find the comment. It was a ways back. Usually I respond very quickly when somebody asks me a question. It's within a day or two. I'll have a video up. Here's what I see from that material. But in this case, it was something very personal. It wasn't from the material, but it was, as I interpret it, and I tell people I'm not going to come up with anything supernatural. This is an inward healing process, and that God ends up being the higher awareness. There's something different going on that we need to look at. And the person asked me, well, then what are we to do? Despair? What's life about then if we're to understand that there isn't something? What are your thoughts on it? So I'm finally getting to it. It's taken a while. This is a difficult one. It's not in the material. It's in my heart. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Okay, so this will be a departure from my usual videos. This is just me talking here. Campfire chat. Grab your libation. Grab a bottle of wine, whatever. Just imagine we're going to talk about something kind of off the rails here, a little bit different, because everybody has thoughts. But I want to go through my experiences and why I think what I do. But there's one thing I want to say right off the bat is that I simply don't believe in anything supernatural. And that's really it. It doesn't matter what religion. It doesn't matter whether it's from Hinduism or Abraham or anywhere else. I don't believe in anything supernatural in this universe. To me, the term is what? It depends who you talk to. Really, to me, there is nature and there's things that don't follow nature. Supernatural would be something that isn't natural. It doesn't mean that it's more natural or bigger or something like that. Stars exploding, nova, all that kind of stuff. All those are natural processes. Supernatural would be something that occurs that somehow exists outside the laws of the universe. And I think, well, that can't be. I don't think anything can happen outside the laws of the universe. That doesn't mean that there isn't God or anything like that. What it means is that if there is God, God is not supernatural. It means that if God is there, God is real. If God is real, then God is natural. I'm not going to put supernatural as a term in there as part of my belief system. I understand what it's for, but I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to believe in this over here that I can't see, that I can't interact with because of, there has to be very good reason. And if somebody's telling me it's there and it makes me feel better and that's all I get out of it, I'm not going to believe it. I have to see something more than that. So right off the bat, I'm just going to say there's a stuck spot right there. If you don't believe supernatural is possible, then you have to find answers. If something's happening, and yeah, there's something magic out there happening. It's happening to me, but it's natural. What is it? Okay, so through the video, what I'm going to do is talk about where I came from. I was born into a Christian home, but it was an abusive home. I've got some experiences there that you can listen to and go, oh yeah, I can see where that's going to set you on a course someplace. Other things that go on in life, I'll hit some high points, some things that happen, and then I'm going to outline some like things that people would call throughout life, like supernatural experiences, or somehow you're being guided somehow. Something is happening because that at the same time is happening to me throughout life. I'm getting things happen to me and I don't believe there's anything supernatural, but people would go, dude, that's supernatural. Okay. So it's this really mixed up thing. And I think to myself, you know what? It works a certain way, God not required. And if God is out there, God doesn't care that I know about God or worship God or anything like that. And I'll talk about that in greater detail. This God just wants me to do a certain thing. I'm working on the template, working on inner purification, looking at things, understanding things, and realizing, boy, there's something here that we can interact with very directly. Okay, how does that work? And then what are we going to do about it? And then is there an afterlife? Honestly, we don't know. We say we know, and there are people that have beliefs that want to know. We get all that. Okay. All right. So how does it start for me? The earliest part of my life, I have stories from later. I was born Daniel Luke Howe, Howe. My brother Larry and he was the first son and I was the second son of my mother's first marriage. She was married to a man named Lawrence Francis Howe. Turns out she was 17. He was just She came from an abusive home. She was encouraged out quickly. He was an abusive man. He was an alcoholic man that smoked, and he didn't hold down a job. My mom freaked out, not knowing what to do, gets a job. She's a waitress. He comes in and harasses her while she's there, while she's pregnant with me. And then there's a point in time she tells me that he was coming home. He didn't have a job. He would be gone for several days. He would come home and take her tip money and then disappear. She very quickly learned, I can't do that. I got to feed my boys. So she would withhold the money and say no. So he started burning us with cigarette butts right off the bat. Okay, give me the money. So she quickly gave it up, but she started sectioning some out. I don't remember those things. Those are things that happened. I was 5 years old when my mother remarried John Paulson and I became Paulson. So all of that stuff happened. I can say that I believe it happened because of experiences that I had in life that I go, I don't know where these come from. I've got some really weird issues that if I listen to that story, I go, damn it, that fits. Okay, I think I see what's going on. So that's the starting in life. It goes on though, and we're going to church. My cognition is of living in a very rural setting, Maple Valley, Washington, out in the country, having some wooded area out there. And that we went to church 3 times a week, but I can only tell you this, that it seemed like at first everything was okay as little kids, but very quickly there became this really abusive behavior in the home. We were getting whipped with belts by my mom and being routinely told things like, you kids are so damn dumb. You're never going to amount to anything. You're just worthless. What did you do wrong this time? We could do no right. I'm sure we're normal kids. We're fighting and scrapping and, arguing who rides in the wagon over who pulls them or something like that. Normal kids, things bugging them, but we would get whipped, beaten. And I remember having to, the beatings were such that we would be welted top to bottom. Someone would go into a rage, veins popping out on the neck. There's something would overcome my mom. It would just lock into this thing. We'd be lined up on the bed crying, you're the next one. You're the next one. She would just systematically go through and beat us. Hold you across the bed and whip you with a belt. Or if you're out in the yard trying to get away, she would just hold you by the hand and whip, wail. So that was a part of life. We went to church and we believed in Jesus and we kept praying. Larry and I kept praying, please, Jesus, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And please help us. It hurts. Why is Mom doing this? Would you come and talk to her? Please make her stop. It never quit. And then one day, Larry was 11 years old and I was 9 years old, and he had learned about heaven in Sunday school. He was talking about that in the car on the way home. I remember that because he told me weird things like, we can see Blackie again. You can eat whatever you want to. You don't have to eat liver anymore. But I had to stay in the house and help my younger brother learn his ABCs. It's just this rote A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He's 4 or 5 years old or something. And I could see Larry out the back window throwing a water bucket up into the air and catching it. He was getting water. We had some ducks that we had the eggs, and they ate slugs in the yard. So we had some ducks there. But at some point, I left the table and I went out. It had been maybe a half an hour, and I found him in the woods, and he had hung himself. That was the day he learned that if he died, that he would go right to heaven and everything would be left behind. I found him in the woods. I cut him down. I ran home. I couldn't untie it. I was freaked out. I'm 9. I'm about maybe 2 months away from being 10 years old. I cut him down. I had seen mouth to mouth in a first aid book, and I thought I just have to blow air into him and he'd be okay. And I tried doing that, and of course I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have an airway. I forced air into his stomach, causing him to regurgitate. And I ran home, and anyway, it went on. I could go on and on about it. I don't need to. I was never counseled. I was never dealt with. Everything got quiet. The beatings, everything like that quit. Everybody just backed off into their own corners for 3 months. Gradually, things returned to normal. You're getting beat. You're stupid. You're worthless. So by the time I am By the time I am a teenager, I'm just turning 15 years old, and I run away from home. I can't take it anymore. I'm getting beat. Everything around me is normal. Something is really broken here. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't even care. My mom calls the neighbor man to come and talk me out of it. The neighbor man that came down when Larry hung himself. He came down because my mom said he's out of control. He just said he's packing his backpack and he's leaving. Tell him to quit. So he came in, the neighbor man came in and he said, well, I was wondering when this is going to happen. I've been listening to you kids get beat through those woods for years. Where do you want to go? Give you a ride. Got any money? Yeah, he saw it coming. So life starts out where I'm living on the streets, had a $20 bill. I start panhandling. People take me in and go, you're a young kid. You do not belong out here. You're going to die. What do? They molest you. You're hurt. You try to live. You're mad at everybody. You hate everybody. You don't know what's going on, but you've been somehow wired different. Later on in life, a lot of things happen. A lot of things transition. I've got good, I got bad. I want to do good, but something is in there. I was in the military. I joined. It's like, I need an education. We were at peace. I go in and become a ground station satellite equipment repairman. I was intelligent. I qualified. Whatever you want to do, you qualified to do what you want. So I went in to do that, and I spent time in, and I was recognized a lot for accomplishment, fixing things, building things, doing stuff that was like, well, how did you get that done, Sergeant Paulson, at some point? And at the same time, I was punished twice under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for it's a non-judicial punishment in the military. That means it's not like out a federal offense or something like that, or a local offense. It's something that you did bad in the military. And in this case, it was disrespect to senior enlisted, telling them, up yours. There's a point where I had issues with, I don't have issues. Yeah, I think I have authority issues. What I have is, I think everybody is the same. If I'm in a system right there, I don't have a problem with the authority and the rank structure. I never did. But there was a point where there were leaders above me that were doing things that were substandard to my value system. And in those cases, I didn't care about the rank structure. It's like, sorry, Sergeant, that what you're doing is wrong. Up yours. But, they give you a chance to back down. Do you want to retract that? No. I said what I want to say. Then you're getting the Article 15 and the commander's telling me, Sergeant Paulson, if you want to apologize, I think we can end this right here. This doesn't quite seem right. You telling him that right there, telling him off like that. You get an opportunity to do something different right here. Go ahead. What do you got to say? Where do I sign, sir? 14 days of extra duty. Where's the paint and the brushes? I'll get started right away. It's just like, okay, yep, no, I said it. I'll take my punishment and I'll go. I meant what I said. I was that way. There's problems in the way that I'm wired, I know sometimes, that have to do with maybe from earlier on or brain type or something like that. I've got a problem when people tell me, yeah, you can't, it can't be. Yeah, I would just be like, get out of the way. I will take care of it. At any rate, at some point, I'm in life, what does this all mean? At some point, I need to heal. I start finding things in material. I start getting, somehow things are unfolding for me. I'm getting things laid out in front of me. I needed this article. Oh, this tells me what I needed to know. I need to forgive this person who molested me. The hatred that I have for them is continuing to live out through me. And it's not about me. It's not about them. It's about me. It's about what I want in my life. That happened long ago. The person is probably dead. Yet here I am later, still living it. I see what's going on. So I start working through the material and unwrapping how it works. I start finding commonalities. I start finding across the board that I see something and I begin to read things that are very much in metaphorical ways. It's all in analog, that I begin to see that there's one template in all myth and religions from antiquity. It's very difficult to see, otherwise we would all see it, wouldn't we? There's one template that is very difficult to see that frames these huge stories that people hang on to. And myth and religions, all of them are built off that single template. I want that template. I want to know what happened to Larry. Do I think Larry went to heaven because he hung himself? I was told later, oh yeah, I guess what happens if you do that? Sorry, he went to hell. There's too much conflict here. What am I to believe? What am I to follow? Can I have this experience and go, yes, I'm going to worship the God of Abraham. Thank you for all you've done for me. That's not going to work. You can see that. That would take something broke up here to follow into something like that at this point. You've had different experiences that lead you in a different direction. They drop you out of where you came from and force you to go somewhere else. And I wanted answers. I wanted to know. So I looked and I looked and I looked, and you keep trying everything. And at some point, I was open enough to be receptive to things. I went down a lot of rabbit holes. I saw a lot of things. And at some point, the biggest thing that I could see that is in all the rabbit holes that don't go anywhere is I see the mindset of a person that is somehow whacked out. They just believe something different. Whether it's flat earth or Jesus taught Kundalini. These things are big belief systems, that the Egyptians could never have built the pyramids, all of those kind of things. You start looking at those and go, as much as they all sound different, there's some sort of mind type in these things that are all somehow functional in ways. What are they doing? They're looking for happiness, they're looking for peace, but they're not looking for what is necessarily there. They're not seeing it. If I can look and see something if I can look at all of this material and see something in common with all of them, I want to know what that is. And when you find it, you find out that you are not in any one of those divided myths or religions. You are a part of a humanity, of a more spiritual unity, of a brotherhood that doesn't matter what color your skin is or where you come from. We want the world to be a good place for everybody, not just our tribe. We want God to bless the world, the universe. So then what happens? You sit there and think, well, God, what does that mean? Does that mean there's nothing? I don't want that. I also don't want to look at this life and say, well, all of you guys that say you're Christian and you're going to go to heaven and live forever, you know what? I don't want to live with you. I don't. There's such a diversity out there. I see so much anger, so much hatred, so much the kind of thinking that I don't myself harbor. I don't want to be there. No, I look at all of this and go, I don't know why I would make that decision. There's got to be something bigger. And then you start realizing things like, from a science perspective, there's more out there than we know. We've evolved physically here to operate right here in this world in these five senses, but there's so much energy out there that the vast majority of what is in the universe, we don't interact with. We interact with just a very tiny part of the physical world. There is so much out there that is beyond us. We, in our minds, because we can't fathom much, the minds are full, so we think, because the mind is full, I must know everything. No, your mind is just full. So if it was bigger, there would be so much more to learn. I think if we look at, the expansion, that there's things that, how come things appear on radar and then disappear in fighter jets and things like that? The whole UFO phenomena, I'm not into that. I don't think that things come from all over the place. I'm more inclined to think that something could be right here with us, but in another dimension. Like if we were sitting here looking at fish and the fish has no idea we're here unless we dip into their world. But as long as we're not, we just look at them and they don't know anything about us. We don't think the same or anything like that. That's not the best analogy to use. But what if there's something out there in one dimension that's looking at us and going, okay, yeah, this is where we're pulling our spirits from here, but we're going to see who makes it. What is evolution? That would be evolution, wouldn't it? A Christian believes in evolution. Here's what evolution is, though, just an advancement from one to the other. If you die physically on planet Earth and then go to a spiritual world, isn't that the same as we're here physically in a primordial soup? And if you emerge above it, you evolve into a spiritual being. It's biological evolution is what they say. It doesn't exist. But the other evolution there is. It's all evolution. I would look at that and go, well, maybe that would be more the case. What if there's people out there that go, yeah, you can get out here, but we don't just take anybody. You got to be able to figure out some things. You got to be able to demonstrate before you get here that you can act right without being in some kind of fear. We're going to give you all the things necessary. We're going to build all this system for you to work with. But if you can't figure your way out of it, you're not worthy. If you can't find the brotherhood and the unity, you don't belong in this dimension. Okay, so what are we doing? You're past the bottle. I know, it goes off the deep end right here. At some point, though, you're looking at going, I don't know what there is. I don't see that I would spiritually just pop into some place and then coexist with everybody that worshipped this person that would never help me as a child while I was getting welted and begging for help. And then people later saying, well, you didn't try hard enough. I'll refrain my comments on that. Okay, I don't mind, though, really analyzing Christianity in the way that I see it at some point. Even there's a point where people say just believe. It's much better. It's easier. It's simpler. So what does that tell me right there? That if I believe in God just to make sure I'm safe, and that's all I have to do. Maybe a couple of things. Give up a couple of vices and don't covet my neighbor's wife. Okay, I don't have any vices and I don't covet my neighbor's wife already. I'm not a religious person, so I'm already there. The only thing I'm missing is the worship of God. That's it. So the only thing God further requires of me is that I bow down and worship and acknowledge this God. I think to myself as an individual, if I was God, would I do that? Would I look around and go, yes, I like to see my minions worshiping me. Oh, you're not worshiping. You are unworthy. You must go away. You slapping your face on the ground repeatedly. Oh, yeah, you come up here. Now, there's a point where you go, what the hell kind of a God is that? It doesn't sound like a good God. So I'm thinking if there's a God out there and that's quiet and secret, God is like, you know what? I don't care if you believe in me or not. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to bless certain people in life no matter what. And I can tell you that my own life has been that way. I've had so many things happen along the way that I can look back on and go, I'm on a course. I'm supposed to get here. I've been coming here my entire life. Larry even was a launching point. As a part of the motivation, see his picture right up here? He watches over. Sort of, not really. I don't maintain thought about that all the time. It's just something I've had in the background that's like, what was the sense of this? Where did he go? What did it do to me? What did it send me off on? It was pretty intense and, well, I don't have that answer. But along the way, I know that I knew that day clairvoyantly that he was dead before I found him. I heard that in my mind. I heard certain things that were magical and mystical along the way. I've got my 740 story. I'm looking for answers at one point. I put this in other videos, but I'll repeat it here. I kept seeing the number 747. It became so prevalent, I didn't know anything about it. I won't go into all the details. It happened for several years, and it was purchasing something or seeing a truck license plate, turning around, somebody's, went the wrong direction, turn around at this house. Oh, look at their house number 747. That is what I mean. It was like, what? Daddy, what time is it? It's 7:47. How weird. Yeah, it was so much that you're just like, I don't get it. Then one day, I'm thinking I got it figured out. But I didn't. Somebody gets a hold of me. They want me to sign on to log into a site of theirs where they're doing some electronic work. They want me to come on board and take a look at some things and give them some advice. So he gives me a password to sign on, and it's Luke 747. And I was like, okay, this is bizarre. Where did you get that Luke 747 from? Luke is my middle name. Luke is my middle name. And the 747 has been there. So I was astounded. He said, read your Bible, silly. And it's the story about the woman who did the things for Jesus. And because this is the one, because her sins were many, but she loved much, all of her sins were forgiven. And it's like, okay, sins are the things that I'm holding inside of me. I need to live for my higher awareness. I need to become the embodiment of love. This is what I needed to do. I needed to hear that. That was because the sins were all of the things that you're carrying with you. It's not the things that you've done bad. It sounds that way for the people carrying it. But if you're understanding it and you realize it's an analog and it plays out up here, that a sin is something that continues to hurt me. I could have been a victim. I got molested. I hate. I hurt. As time goes on, you have to call that a sin. It's not because it's something you did. It's because of something that was done that you are now carrying. It was a sin, and you're now carrying it. So just interpret it that way and go, okay, I've got to get rid of my sins, which means I've got to get rid of the things that I'm hanging on to. The memories that I won't let go of. It's that simple. But that's a hard thing to do. I have another story. All my life I've explored. Many of my jobs were very remote jobs. For years I worked on one where I traveled alone. And my work sites were remote. And I didn't travel from an office. I traveled from my house. It was a big network that was around the entire U.S. And I worked in one region. So from there, I just worked for many years isolated. And from there, I had all of the CDs from the teaching company, all the world religions and things like that. I would listen to that stuff over and over again. The religious mind, the brain, all that kind of stuff, the human brain, thought processes. I would listen to those over and over again. And it was fun to do, but the jobs gave me the opportunity. It was like the jobs, it wasn't a standard job. My last job in life was one that was perfect too. I had to get away from there, but it provided me the opportunity to retire. But many years ago, I would go out on weekends. I would go out to remote places by myself, isolated, and go camping, just ponder. I was really, did a lot of solo stuff. Somewhere way down in the desert. One time I'm hiking and I'm down there. I'd been there for about 3 days just camping. I was in a tent and I'm hiking around and I find you see that? It's a domino. This is a domino that I found down there. It's cracked. I don't know how. I don't know if it's going to. There we go. Well, the autofocus. I got to get my face out of there. Look at it though. Well, let me see. Look at, what do you see on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on one side and 3 on the other. So this is really bizarre. This is actually so old, I feel bad about it. I don't know what to do. This is made of ivory. It was in the desert, abandoned from an old homestead from years ago. The remains of it were around there. And other, debris was around. But that was like, wow, I picked that up because it was just the domino there. And it wasn't, native artifact. It was more recent times. I had not gotten into my searching yet into the 7-3 numbering grid into Genesis, which is the biggest thing I can find, 7-3. I've got 7-3 on this, and is that a coincidence? I don't know. I look at it on my shelf now and go, I don't get it. What makes things happen sometimes that you look at and go, you know what? It almost looks like there's a pattern I'm following. Like there's some sort of a network, a grid or something, and I'm getting little bits and pieces along the way, but that I'm supposed to get here for some reason, and that I get things that help me. That early story, that first one about healing and knowing I had to let go of that molestation, was a story that I had read in an Omni magazine about somebody who did past life therapy, and I'm not into that at all. I don't believe there's past lives. I believe there's a human collective psyche. I do believe that, absolutely. We pull things from somewhere. I don't know where, but we get things. But I don't think that, there's spirits and things like that out there. Anyway, the story goes on where the therapist is the one that wrote this story. And the description in a nutshell was that he got a woman come to him who was really had some big problems in life and things were falling apart. She was getting a divorce, had lost custody of her young child, was getting fired, and, her husband was her childhood sweetheart. It was kind of a big article, but basically how it goes is that she was somehow having some problems, and I don't recall what it was. But as the therapist is working through with her, going to him is kind of a last resort. They've already done we check your brain balance and try drugs. And, everything seems okay. We really don't know what's going on. You seem all right. So he starts doing past life therapy, and things begin to emerge. Okay, for what it's worth, I'll just say that. We're going to wrap this up, though. I don't believe in past lives. But she, in hypnosis, is apparently recalling something that she claims to be is from a past life. And it has to do with some sort of, taking a woman that was pregnant and killing her with a sword and making sure the baby was butchered and things like that. It was very grotesque. It was like, oh my gosh, that's horrific stuff that she's pulling from a past life. But at the end of the article, what the therapist said was that as they come out of that and then they talk about it back and forth, that the person was like, really? I said that? I don't remember that. That's kind of, I don't get it. I've never been hypnotized, so I don't know how that works. But in this case, what the therapist said, that whenever they come out of that and they discuss it back and forth, that he notices that a healing takes place. And that he began to notice that in her, that things began to improve. And she was reporting, oh yeah, as we're going through this and I'm telling you all the things that happened in the past, my life is improving. And it was. And it's like, well, that's okay. I don't get it. That's bizarre. But towards the end, what happens is she says, and he says this as well. He said, I'm not here to tell you that there are any past lives. I'm just here to tell you what the process reveals. And she said in the end, she called him up one day, said, you know what? I think I'm good. My husband and I are reconciling. The law firm is hiring me back. My child and I, we're all going out to dinner. Everything is wonderful. Everything is good. Everything is fine. Oh, and by the way, I just remembered when I was 5 years old, my uncle molested me. Okay, in an effort to try and sum up the theme of the article, what the therapist was saying is that I'm not here to say that at all, but that it really appeared to him as though sometimes people have stuff that they're holding so bad that it's so hurtful, they've got like blockages to it. They don't even want to see it. And somehow that this sort of becomes a mental end around for them to find, I was this person, I did this. It's kind of a way to separate yourself from the actual situation or something, and it comes out messed up in the mind, but that in talking about it, that somehow that affects the healing, just in the act of bringing it out into the open. And I was sitting there reading that, and I was thinking about my molestation that had happened I'm in my 30s. I don't have stuff resolved. I'm not on my path yet. Nope. But I'm reading that article. I'm having a lot of issues. I'm starting this. It's starting to emerge. This is my awakening point back here. I got to the point where I realized everywhere I go, my life eventually goes bad. This is the point where I realized, you know what? There's a common denominator with every one of those. I'm there. I made that connection. That was important. So what happened here then is I thought to myself, all right, I remember what happened to me. I know what my problem is. I don't need to past life therapy to talk about what happened. So I did. I talked to a friend. I set it up. It was a big deal. Went out in the desert, him and Hod. It was a very scary thing. I thought, oh my God, this person's going to hate me. She's going to think, you disgusting pig, get away from me. You think that bad about it. You get done telling them and they're like, well, that's it? I swear it felt like it was 2 weeks before my feet touched the ground. You feel a physiological lifting. There's things happening. And I didn't realize it at that moment, but now what I know exactly what that is, Jesus teaches that. If you come to the altar to leave a gift, and while you're there, you remember you've got aught against your brother, don't leave your gift. Go set it down. Go resolve the ought. Then come back, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. You see, he didn't even give the gift. What this means is if you're looking for a better life and you remember you've got issues, go resolve those issues. And when those issues are resolved, you'll just automatically improve. It'll be better. So I'm figuring this out. I'm looking at this material and realizing there's something there, and it's actually affecting the way that I feel, and it's affecting the way that I work in life. And I'm sure I can keep coming up with stories along the way, things that are just happening that you're like, oh my God, it's like pointing, go this way, go that way. And here I am. And, this isn't a video about how you get through it all and things like that. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask. It's really a matter of, we emerge from the higher awareness. I am the first and the last. That's what we're looking for right there. What is that? What is the last? If I am the first, what is that? So far, I've got it dialed into, it looks like the first means really that this is the higher awareness that we're living through. This is it's a state of mental being, of purity. And that we emerge somehow physically from that pure state of being. This is weird because I don't want to go where, who is it? Rupert Spira and Donald Hoffman. If you know their work. I'm kind of partway with them, but then they go off the rails for me. I go, I'm stopping. I'm not going to go where they go. The whole idea that consciousness is fundamental, I don't know that. That's kind of a religious claim. There's a point there where you suddenly are just supposed to believe that, because we can't figure it out, that's what it is. Since we can't figure out consciousness comes from chemistry, then it must be, then it must be what makes everything up. And it's like, wait a minute. That's just a religious claim. Okay, it doesn't make sense. That's not completely it, but there's more to it. And Donald Hoffman's idea that everything out there we see really is just kind of like a desktop icon. The moon isn't really fully, completely there until you look at it, and then it fills in. It's like opening a file, that there's something going on there, and I don't believe that either. But there's something going on that is beyond us. Because I look at my life and go, what is this guidance? I'm not trying this. Why does the Vatican have an observatory? What are they looking for? What's in What's in their vaults? What's in their books? This is where the mind goes into this conspiracy area. Then you step back and go, okay, how did we evolve here for millions of years? What were the dinosaurs doing? Who put them here? And there's too many holes in this story, honestly. But the idea, certainly, you keep looking at it and going, well, I don't like the whole program idea, but it could be that there's life out there going, you know what, we can somehow organically manipulate we can create life happening down here. We do that now. We organically manipulate life. We genetically modify. We do it purposefully. Genetic modification is normal. We do it every time we have offspring. Yeah, we modify genetically just by existence. But this is, like, putting fish stuff in tomatoes a little different. But they stay ripe on the shelf, don't they? Nothing wrong with that, okay? It's kind of weird stuff. There's something going on. It seems chemical. We're learning it. But there's patterned things for me happening that are so specific. Those are the ones that make me go, what is that? Why do I get these indications? Why do I find the 3 7s? Why do I find, all that stuff? How does that 747 story work? And again, those are just the big ones. Now there's a point you look at and go, boy, I can't really call that coincidence. Going outside and walking to the front door at the same time the person's bringing a package and you just used to open it up, that's a coincidence. Yeah, and maybe you're reading something there too. Who knows? But when they get that obscure, you go, yeah, there's too many details there. How can that be? How can 747 go on for years and then finally your middle name and somebody else is involved in it in order to get you the message that you need to have? It's like something has me plugging on this course. And I go, I don't know what the hell. Is it just my desire? That could be it too. Honestly, that very idea, seek and you will find, knock and it will be opened. Is that it? You just want to know and you find out? All you have to do is have a desire and then wait and figure it out as it emerges. Sometimes you get answers you don't know. That 747 was coming to me for a lot of years before I knew what that was. Yeah, sometimes it's like, maybe that pathway you're looking on, maybe answers are coming all the time and we just don't know how to recognize them. I don't know. So what would there be back here? To me, I would look at the material and say this. Well, the best I can say is that they're telling you that you're a product of your memories and that in order to live a pure life, in order to find purity, you go through to let go of everything and you become poor in spirit, basically, is the term. That means just let go of the things that are your judgments that you're living through. But that includes, honestly, if you get right down to it, if you do it completely, you become mentally inclusive of all life. If you do it right. If you're not doing it right, you're not there. You're still stuck in your religion or your tribe. If God doesn't bless the world, if God is still blessing something small, then you're not there. And to me, if God is there, then God doesn't care. Obviously, if I'm being guided like this and God is there, guess what? God doesn't care if I believe and worship it or not. God is saying, you know what, dude, you're doing exactly what I want. I'm going to give you what you need along the way. That's how I see it. I would mentally think of it that way. Nobody can tell me what my experience is or how I feel about it or what my past is or what happens as a result. And you can't for them either. But there are a lot of people that have not really processed it very much and thought it through and thought, well, what about this? What about that? I don't know. Believe in God just in case. It's better. You can't do that with any religion except for Christianity because they were told if you just worship Jesus, you're going to heaven. Kind of follow the 10 Commandments. It's so minimal. There are thousands upon thousands of of Christian denominations as a result of that right there. Other religions split, but none of them split by thousands and thousands. Yeah, you get differences in how people believe. But in this case, what you have is something where the religion is being made into the beliefs of the individual. So Christianity is a tough one. I really, at some point, you see where I came from, and now I will grab the Bible, and I know it very well, and I'm understanding it, and I'm appreciative of what it is, but it's not what a Christian thinks it is, and it's not what a Jew thinks it is. It's monomyth. It's human life cycle for me. There's something in there that exists elsewhere, and it existed previous to this, and it exists in, Egyptian works. It exists everywhere. There's something bigger than any local religion. What the hell is that? That's what I want to know. If that's the way out, then that's the way out. If I can find that pathway in Christianity and I can find it in Hinduism both, isn't it the pathway that I'm looking for and not the religious carrier? Does that make sense? It's all metaphorical. It's like trying to read fables. You can't read them at face value. People are reading the Bible at face value. That's the problem. It is not meant to be that way. It sounds that way. A lot of people hang on to it, not thinking it through very well. Anyway, okay, so me. I honestly can't think of any reason to want to continue a physical life unless it was somehow locked into something that was... I don't know. And you know what happens? When you do something all the time, you get used to it. If you enjoy something, and it's wonderful, and you start eating it every day, after a while it's just regular. Anything you do over and over again grows in a way that we get accustomed to. Our brains grow a certain way. And we don't think about it, but we're taught everything is in a balance. You can only know joy in the presence of the opposite. There's got to be this neutrality that we're looking for somehow. It's an odd thing. I'm not there. I'm not any kind of an expert by any means, but I know I'm not going to stop at any religion along the way. And I know I got a few comments from people along the way in my work saying, you're trying to circumvent what God's doing. What I'm trying to do is look for the truth. That's what I'm doing. And I'm trying to find something that's demonstrable and in common. That's it. I am not going after anything except the truth. I'm not going after anybody's claims. There's a lot of people that have problems with the fact that you might find something in their material that isn't part of their claims. There's something else in there, but that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I am not trying to disprove God. I want there to be something. But I'm not going to believe something that you look at it and go, this is so shallow that it flies for anybody. It's got to be better than this. And, there's too many ways to poke holes in it, of course, if you think over time and all that. But, maybe something out there hasn't been in place all along. It's evolving and it's coming in place. It's ahead of us. But it's bored and I don't know what the heck. Are we supposed to get somewhere else? If we are, the question is, how do you do it? And people get to decide whether it's like, my local one that I believe in, that I have faith in, that I believe in this, and that's all I need to do, then go for it. But if there's somebody that says, I've traveled the world and I see something here that is in common everywhere. I see something bigger, that God is like a creator of something much bigger than your little local area. I'm going to do that. People will have problems with that. If there's something beyond here, though, that's where it is. I don't see it in a worship mode or just believing in. I mean, not even everybody worships. They just go, well, I believe, I accept. That's all I'm done. Okay, we're done. Yeah, let's go protest. Let's go do this. Yeah, that's not me. I don't want that. Nope. I have my own feelings that I want to talk about, I guess, as far as people that believe certain things for reasons, that there's different brain types and that, there's, I would say this, there are most people, humans are fear and joy driven. We look for things that make us happy. Something that nobody likes, if you look, creatures fear when they're getting attacked, they run, they're fear, they do it. There's pain, there's all kinds of reason to survive. Humans are the same way, except for one thing, we've developed to the point that we're aware of it all the time. A dog doesn't sit there all the time thinking, I'm going to die, I got a limited lifespan. Humans do. Think about that. I don't need to keep going farther on that path. And for me, the conversation has to include all points, right? When one of them is that we emerge, you have your life opportunity and you die. And that would be a reason to focus on a good life, wouldn't it? But it would be a tragedy to consider for other lives. It's not a fun thing to think about. I know I can go out to take a hike where a fire has been through 10 years ago, and there's new trees popping up all over the place, little baby pine trees all over. They're so close to each other, though, that at some point in time, if it ever grows into a full-size forest, the vast majority of these trees are going to have to die off. They're not going to make it. There's more produced than are needed, naturally. I don't know if this is the same thing or not, but I've got a pioneer cemetery nearby where I can go down there and along this one row, 5 or 6 headstones in a row from 1801, something like that. 1801, 1800, Baby Smith. 1801, Baby Smith. 1802, Baby Smith. 1803, well, Johnny Smith. That one wasn't stillborn. Johnny lived long enough to get a name, but he still died. 1807, Baby Smith. Yeah, and you look at that and go, wow. The mortality rate, the things that were going on, we're in our modern biases. It's hard for us to fathom a different way of living, a different life. And you can see some groups of people that, like, they insist upon children being born regardless of what the future prospects are for that child. What does that look like? Looks like evolution. It's kind of big to nutshell, although I think I'm kind of doing it along the way. So there's things in the universe out there we don't know. There's energy, there's dark energy, there's things, there's expansion, there's stuff that, there's a lot of unknowns out there you look at and go, something's going on that we don't grasp. It's outside of our comprehension. It's outside of our view. It's something happening in the universe that we're not aware of. What if something evolved there? They can get to where we are, but we can't get to where they are. They've got more, we're in the water and they're not, but we can't see them unless they come and visit, but they know just to blip up and zip out real quick. Somehow something that they're not upholding to our laws of nature, are they? Things that move that quick, or, I don't know. We know that's there. To say that God exists and you can't question it, it goes completely somewhere else. Are they both weird sounding things? Yeah, but you know what? I can work with one of them. The other one I can't. The other one I'm supposed to just sit and wait till I die. Also, one of them fits in the realm of supernatural, which I don't believe in, and the other one fits in the realm of natural that I don't yet understand, and I would prefer to say, I don't know. I'm going to keep looking forever instead of saying, I got it, and I don't want to know anything else. And we're just wired that way. There are brains that are that way. There are brains that are the other way. You know what? Yeah, I want there to be something, but you know what? I don't feel like we found it. And I don't believe any one of those local belief systems is all there is when you look at them, really. Anyway, okay, those are my thoughts. I don't know if that's very helpful. It's not a yes or no. It's a, well, I hope so. This is the way I can think of it being. I can't see it being the way that everybody claims. That doesn't make sense to me. It's too easy. It looks like there's too much conflict in the value systems of the people that are all going on board. Looks like, what, heaven will be just like planet Earth. I also think that religion, in some cases, there's a point where there are beliefs that can get so bad that they actually believe that planet Earth is really not that significant, that it's a temporary thing. There are people in the future that are going to pay an incredible price for what we're doing right now. I don't think that's very spiritual. Am I using resources? Yes, I am. Okay, so it's not about an individual thing. It's about what are we doing as a people? We are evolving beyond our terrarium. Then how do you deal with that? It's hard to find happiness these days, I think. Actually, the more you are unaware of things, the happier you can be. The more you're aware, the more it's tough. So, it's not always a good place to get here, but I'm forced to be here. Again, you heard my story, you heard my life. I had to go find something. I had to go find peace of mind someplace. And this is the best I could find. It was an inward path. I couldn't find it outward. I tried that one. I raised that one. I was raised with that one or one like it. And I'm not going to leave Christianity and convert to Hinduism or convert to Islam or something like that. You're going to look for some other answers. And the religions are fine, but at some point in time you realize the religions are based in psychology. They are. But that there's something that happens as a result, and that we emerge from someplace and we're returning to someplace. What is that place, and what does it take to get there? And if we follow the template, then it means of all this purity until we can find a unity. Does that mean there's a life beyond? No. But it means that if there is somebody out there looking for a worthiness, that might be what they're looking for. And you would at least want to live your life in a way that when you pass along, you present that. Purity, yeah. You can bring me in your group. I love everybody. I don't care what color they are. No, we're all going to believe the same thing, that it's just purity. We're not going to pound each other with religious variation. That's what I would want. So I'm going to live my life kind of stuck in that frame of thinking. All right. Hope this was okay to people. It's different. Sometimes I have a hard time with it. It gets kind of raw after a while. It's not a big channel. There's not much conversation. I know it's important to convey it because it helps people that need to hear it. But it leaves me feeling kind of raw sometimes. So I don't like to always go here. It's something that you can do with individuals and conversations very easily. It's hard to put it on a video and just slap it out in public. That's suddenly it's a different, it feels a lot different up here. That's probably why I stay with the interpretation of the material. That's kind of, textual sort of stuff. It's boring though, isn't it? It doesn't get to this level. These videos sometimes are more popular, but they open me up, and people that are critical, I mean, you just laid your soul bare, so people can really hurt you. I've handled those wrong in the past. I'm very conditioned in my life at just when people get in your face, just know, I will not back down. You need to get away from me. I need my space. That people get these groups. They don't understand there's variation. We're living through life not fitting, trying to figure it out, making people around you know that you got to leave me alone. They think you're aloof, you're full of yourself, you think you too much of yourself, you're an asshole, whatever, and you're like, oh my God, how come everybody wants to? It's just different brain types, different personalities. There are times where when people say hard things or harsh things on the comment section where I fire back at them, and what I need to do is manage that differently. I'm just going to, in the future, when people say something like that, I'm just going to, there's a couple of little 3 dots right there. All I have to do is click hide from channel. Poop, they're gone. So I'm going to do that in the future. Don't engage with people that have bad things to say. It's a bad world today. It's getting very bad. It's getting very hateful. And when people come and bring that, the best thing to do is to just kind of move it away and not to engage with it. But it's going to be there. It's going to be in our face. So I apologize to people for, yeah, I get this way, but it's a mental process, and it's a part of a drive system. It's part of an internal drive system that has to be looked at. I need to turn away from people that are like that but I have the mechanism. I mean, I have the mechanism here, yes, on the YouTube channel to just get rid of them. So I'll do that. Anyway, okay, everybody else, yeah, I hope it's helpful, and see you in the next video. I realized on editing, shame on me, I didn't close out the story with my mom. I want everybody to know that I've healed, that I've been through a lot in life to manage the childhood issues. My mom and dad are gone. Times have changed. Though I grew up in Seattle, my mom lived there, or moved there as a teenager, but she grew up in Arkansas in a Pentecostal home that was rather abusive, very much that way. And she was abused. I remember her saying as a kid, I thought it was weird. She would be yelling at us, and, oh, you boys are so bad, but at least I'll never have any girls. And it was like, wow, that's a weird thing. She had a sister at some point. What eventually emerges is that she's in the home. There's kids there. They're abused physically in the same way. You're damn dumb. You're stupid. Get over here, getting beat like that. And moreover, get over here, get busy and shut up, or I'll. So they're getting molested. They're getting really beat and treated poorly, and never got it resolved. And there's a point where that triggers out of a person and they don't know how to resolve it. And upon recognizing that, you understand that we're living through the experiences that were given from the previous life. We're in a chain. We're the next link in the chain. Life experiences are going from generation to generation, and it's very important to understand that and to extract oneself from that mentally, and to know that, you know what, I came from this higher self, but I begin to live life and have these physical experiences that make me feel emotionally this way, and I'm living through those emotional experiences, and I need to understand that, resolve those emotional experiences, and now knowingly go live from that higher awareness and disconnect from that, going, okay, from here it feels good. Life is healed. It's okay. So I've done that, and I've been able to do that. And I love my mom for giving me life. My heart goes out to her that she hurt so bad for her life. I remember as an adult her crying on my shoulder saying, "I'm so sorry for what I did to you boys." I had no idea. Yeah, she didn't. She had to live with that. We don't have to. All right, I just wanted to wrap that up. Take care.